The day that my son Kyle and his partner Joe can be married, we are going to have one of the greatest celebrations. And let me tell you folks, they've been together 16 years. Kyle is in Seattle, Joe is in the Philippines. They carry on their relationship by Skype. They get to see each other 3-4 times a year. They're still loyal, they're still faithful, they love each other. One day they are going to be married.
This is my husband Richard right here. We got married in California 3 years ago when it was legal for a short period of time, and I'm happy to report that California did not drop into the ocean. It's true. And Iowa has not rocketed off into space or, become absorbed into Minnesota or something crazy like that. Despite all of the protests to the contrary from the Republican majority that they were going to have a laser beam-like focus on jobs and the economy, this was the major achievement of our regular session. An amendment to the state's constitution was passed late in the session. So now what Minnesota is going to have to do is face what I think will be a fairly unpleasant and very ugly campaign over the next year and a half, where people have to stand up and really talk about themselves and who they are as Minnesotans, as members of our larger community, as members of every family, and defend their right to be full and equal participatory Minnesotans, and talk about the fact that all of our families really need the basic things that marriage means, which is the ability to provide for each other economically, the ability to take care of each other in hard times, the ability to just build a life and take responsibility, that foundation and love and commitment.
Project 515 is an organization that focuses on equal rights and consideration under the law for all same-sex couples and their families in Minnesota. And you might wonder where the name comes from, and so I'll tell you that in Minnesota, there are 515 laws in Minnesota statute right now today that discriminate against same-sex couples and their families. So couples and families in Minnesota right now are experiencing discrimination every day. And as you'll hear as we talk a little bit more about what we have ahead, this ballot measure makes things exponentially more difficult for families in Minnesota.
OutFront Minnesota has been around for 25 years. We're a statewide organization working for equality for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender Minnesotans. And basically every day we go to work in the hopes that our state will become a place where no one faces any discrimination, harassment, or isolation based on who they are and who they love. And so we work in the schools, we do lots of trainings in workplaces about making safe and equitable environments for LGBT people. And then of course we work on policy on both a local and state level around right now safe schools and marriage equality.
We are educating people to promote equality and respect and dignity for LGBT people and their families and their relationships. We feel strongly that it is the right thing to do. My son's partner was here on a fiancé visa, was here on a student visa, and when that visa ran out, they had to be separated. They have remained committed. They've been committed for 16 years. They love each other dearly, but they are separated, and it breaks my heart.
When I was a fellow senator with then State Senator Michelle Bachmann, we had quite a time of it with her trying year after year to push what we call a same-sex marriage ban or an anti-marriage amendment to our state's constitution. And she spent a lot of time talking about that and trying to twist the Senate up. And of course we knew that she really had a fervent religious belief on this matter, but we'd also know that the other party really thought that this was a means and a method by which they could elect a whole bunch of Republicans. We proved, of course, that that wasn't the case because they pushed and pushed and pushed this, and they ended up losing a lot of members.
Marriage is about love and commitment, and we have to understand one thing. First of all, marriage is not about sex. It's not about sex. So when you talk about a same-sex or a heterosexual couple, it's about the love and the commitment, the joy that they share together. Marriage is about having walks in the park and sitting on the deck in the moonlight, enjoying a glass of wine and planning a new home or planning a trip or planning a life together. It's about growing old together. And again, it's about the love and the commitment and the joy that people share. It's about coming home after a great day from work and having that special someone to share that joy with. It's coming home after a bad day of work and having that special someone there to lean on.
Why is it that you wanted to get married, or why did your family members and your loved ones want to get married? It's because you loved each other, because you wanted a lifelong commitment together, because you maybe wanted to raise a family, because you wanted to take care of each other for the rest of your lives. That's what we say in weddings, right? For better or for worse, for the rest of our lives. Same-sex couples are exactly in the same camp as any other married couple who want to be married because they love each other and are committed to each other and want to have a family together and take care of each other. In Minnesota, some 20% of same-sex couples are already raising children. This is not something that perhaps is coming in the future. This is something that is in place in Minnesota right now. And as we create these kinds of barriers and difficulties for those families, one of the biggest losers, frankly, are those children that are in families that are not protected.
Not one family does better by putting forward this constitutional amendment and having the debate go across the state about who should be excluded from basic rights in our Constitution. And I think now that we have it before us, that now we really do have an opportunity to use this dialogue and discussion to change our state for the better, to really talk about what family means, to talk about what a state would look like that really does welcome and support all families.
3 aspects to marriage. First is the license. Before you can get married, you have to go and get a license, and you get that at the courthouse. It has nothing to do with the church. Any minister, any judge, any person that performs a marriage in Minnesota has to be licensed by the state of Minnesota to do so. So that's one aspect of marriage, the legal aspect. Then there's the wedding itself, the celebration. And that can be anywhere from an elaborate church wedding invoking the Word of God to going down to the justice of the peace. A couple maybe doesn't want to have a spiritual reference in their wedding. They can get married by a justice of the peace. You can go down to Las Vegas, jump in your car and go through a drive-through and have an Elvis impersonator perform the marriage ceremony. That's the ceremony part. But for most of us, and this is what I want for my son, we have 2 straight sons. Their wedding days were absolutely joyous occasions for us as parents. People came together, we celebrated, they made their commitment to each other in front of their family and friends. We had the reception afterwards. The only downside is that my oldest son Kyle had to be there alone because he and his partner can't be together right now.
Last night my whole family got together at a restaurant to celebrate a couple of birthdays, but also to celebrate the engagement of my sister to her boyfriend. And it was a wonderful, happy, celebratory night because, we weren't super happy because all of a sudden they were going to be inheriting each other's money when one of them died, or that they were going to be able to live in the house when the other one died. Or we were happy because they're in love, because they love each other, that they found someone that they want to spend the rest of their lives with.